Sairam, today's topic for discussion and deliberation and internalization, Chintan, Manthan, Manan. So the topic is ego versus self-respect. The difference, thin line between Swabhiman and Durabhiman. The difference is all about the self-respect versus ego. So this is where Durankar, Ahankar, Aham versus Ahankar, right? These are two different things. Why did we take up this topic as, self-respect and ego? They are two different things. Why are we talking about that, right? The difference is, the reason is, is there is a very, very blurred and insignificant line between ego and self-respect. More often, we won't realize when self-respect turns into an ego. It's a very thin line. And that is something which we should be wary of. First, what is ego? Ego is something, is the most biggest impediment at every aspect of your life and even for your spiritual progression. There are different types of egos, but we will stick to the ego of only two categories. One ego of a person and the other one is a spiritual ego, right? These are two things. Ego of worldly existence and ego in spiritual arena, spiritual ego, right? So remind me after first subject is discussed. Now, what is this ego? Ahankar, Durahankar. What is it that ego, how does it come? Why does it come? What is the basis on which the ego comes? These are the subjects, these are the sub-subjects that we have to dive deep into. Ego is something which emanates from your competence, which is an inch below your peers. Ego is something which emanates from the opulence that you have, which is more than somebody who is close to you. Ego is something which you perceive that you are better looking than someone or few people around you. Ego of your looks, ego of your wealth, ego of your knowledge, ego of your competence, ego of anything, ego of your relationships. Everything which is, anything and everything which you feel is something which not everybody has, that develops a certain amount of ego. The beginning of ego in the worldly existence. People start saying, I take pride, I have it, I flaunt it. Right? These are all the statements just to cover up. And some people, or quite a lot of people in this world, take pride in being egoistic. They even declare, I have a king size ego, I have an elephant size ego. How stupid are you? How can you say that? What happens with an ego? What is ego is very simple to understand. When we feel, it's not that it is a reality. We are a notch above in our wealth or health or appearance or looks or relationships or whatever than some of the people who is around us. The foundation for ego. Anger is different. Self-importance is also a part of ego. Seeking recognition is also a part of ego. So these are all the attributes of ego. What ego is. Ahankar, durahankar. So this is ego. Where it emanates from, we have just understood. It emanates from that thought, that emotion, that feeling. What all comes out, sense of entitlement, sense of recognition, validation, and so on and so forth. That is a spin which you fall into. As I said, many people take pride in being egoistic. It is like taking pride in being an idiot. Because the egoistic people are the stupidest of all. They're extremely gullible. They're extremely stupid. They are so easy to manipulate. They are so foolish. You can play around with them like this. Please note this. If anybody around you is very egoistic, they are the most susceptible to the manipulations. They are the idiots, fools of the highest order. What happens? First of all, you can strike at their emotions. Very easy. You want something to be done, just massage their ego. Just tell them some good things. You will be deciding how their day is going to be or how their life is going to be. You will have control them. You will control their life also. And they think that they are winning. Now, you want them to do what you want, whatever you want. They have to serve your purpose. Just massage their ego. Just say, wow, you're so great. You're so good. Oh, you can do it. I just need this. I have always looked up to you. Who else will I look up to or seek this help or this assistance other than you? You are great. Man, you can do it. Come on. That's it. Doesn't work. I mean, when I have you, why should I ask the other person? No, I mean, I can ask him or her, but you're there, no. Ego. See how gullible they, I mean, these are all some things which we experience in day-to-day life. We don't observe. So how you are manipulating that egoistic person? Very easy. Very simple. Easiest. They are the idiots of the highest order. So you just say that I can ask somebody else. But when I have you, why should I? Your job is done. Work done. And they are so susceptible, egoistic people, so easy, so easily gullible. You just puncture their ego. Just insult their ego. Their day is destroyed. They will not sleep that day. You be at peace. No problem. You just have to make one small statement. No, you think you really can do this? Ha, come on. You can't. That's it. Enrage, ego, not even an insult or a humiliation, just a pinch of comparison. They are finished. You can destroy them in every way. You just have to compare. You just have to massage their ego. You just have to play with them. You just tell them that, hey, look, for your stature, if they are, let's say, for example, driving a car which is not very expensive, you just tell them for your stature, you should have a Mercedes. Come on, what are you driving? Finished. He'll borrow money, he'll take loan, he'll do whatever he wants. He does anything and everything. Tomorrow he'll move around. Doesn't work? Just tell him, oh, your friend recently bought, somebody who is like, not even as big as you are, has bought a Mercedes. Finished. I'm just giving you some little bit of, examples. That's about it. Just to tell you how to manipulate these idiots called egoistic people. Validation, recognition. So easy. Pat them on their back, gone. You want to ruin their day, ignore them, finished. This is the problem with ego. See how dangerous the ego is. Fun part aside, mockery aside, how dangerous can ego be? It can destroy you. It will decimate you. And for that moment, you may feel that being praised or looked up or elevated is something which is great. That is only momentary. The higher you rise fast, the fall is deeper and certain. Don't base your life on ego. Do not base your characteristic and personality based on ego. Never. And all those people who take pride in being egoistic have empathy. Don't manipulate them. I just gave you some of the examples just for fun. No, they need help. They certainly need help. You just have to tap. Somebody, one of my friends was saying, मैं शेर हूं. मैं बोला देखो अभी भी तुम इंसान हो, प्राणी नहीं बने. मैं शेर हूं, मैं ये हूं. ना ना, तू इंसान है. समझाना पड़ा उसे. I had to tell him, I tap him. No, no. He took it as an offensive. I said, no, trust me, you're still a human. And I can see you. You're a human. You're not an animal. So likewise, you have to tap them down. You can't ignore them. Empathy is in a heart. Right? Second most important thing, a mirror. A mirror in which we have to look at ourselves. And after this session, tap ourselves and ask, am I egoistic? You will have the answer. Because as I said this morning, we are not going to judge one another. We are going to judge ourselves, right? Am I egoistic? So the ego is really bad. What happens? This is about a life. Your life can get destroyed. Egoistic person's life can get just destroyed and decimated. Gullible. Anybody can control a person who's egoistic. Emotional downfall, spiritual downfall. Because on the basis of ego is where the Arishad Vargas are standing. The foundation for the 6 flaws or 6 weapons of illusion, 6 attributes of Maya, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. The lust, the fury and anger, the greed, the attachment, the ego, jealousy. These are the foundations, these are the attributes which are on the foundation of ego. Ego is so dangerous. Ego will destroy us. Forget taking pride in being egoistic on anything. Start addressing it as soon as possible. And please treat it with utmost urgency, whether it is in us or whether it is anybody whom we like or love, or close to us. Please. That's very dangerous. An ego cannot evolve you spiritually. Ego is a cause of even delusions in spiritual space. If you want to evolve spiritually, first thing you have to kick out of yourself is ego. Don't ever think that we can evolve evolve in any arena, spiritual arena, based on ego. No. Ego and spiritual evolution cannot coexist. It is impossible. The only way to curtail ego, cull ego, decimate, destroy ego, start with and continue with and complete with just one attribute: humbleness, humility. Two faces of a coin: humbleness and humility. When we have these attributes of humbleness and humility, the ego has no place. You just have to make a small shift of humbleness and humility. We are done. There's not much of an effort. Now, we can quote many examples which we will see later. For example, okay, one or two will. Let us see the biggest of the industrialists of the world, political leaders, indestructible stature that they have attained. What is it that they keep themselves in that position? Only humbleness. What is it that keeps them in that position forever? Lack of ego. There is a beautiful quote by one of the management masters. They say that I can do anything is an assertive statement that comes out of confidence, self-respect. Only I can do anything comes from ego. That's it. I can do anything comes from self-respect, confidence. Only I can do anything comes from ego. That's the only subtle difference between ego and self-respect. An egoistic person is always in a state of comparison. A man with self-respect is always outperforming himself, not to prove a point to anybody, not to compare himself or herself with anybody else, only to outbeat their own previous self, to improve from what they were to what they want to be. They are never in comparison. So comparison is another main attribute of ego. So that is how ego works. And this is a subtle difference. Being confident does not make us egoistic. Being sure about ourselves does not make us egoistic. Being certain and achieving our goals, and when we achieve what we want to achieve, at that point of time, with a pinch of humbleness, with the attribute of sharing your success with others, giving credit to somebody else who has jogged along with you, is an attributes of a man with self-respect. In the corporate world, there are two things, two statements that we make. Your superior is either a boss or a leader. Your boss has ego, your leader, business leader, has self-respect. This is another example because it is very prevalent in the corporate world and the business arena, the ego, in every aspect, right? That is how the ego manifests our downfall. Sooner we get rid of ego is better for us. It's a very, very, not just bad, it's a dangerous attribute to have. So first thing we get rid of is ego. Ego, as I said, what are all the complications? The ego arises out of you, from you. Be careful. Be very careful. Egoistic person is the most stupidest idiot amongst all. Foolish. So let's not get there in that space of ego. Now coming to self-respect. In order to have self-respect, we should know the self. If I have to respect self, the self that I am, I should know myself. Only then we will be in a position to understand whether should we respect ourselves or not. That is called the Atmavalokan. That is what we do in our yoga sadhana. Witness, the Sakshi, being true to ourselves, knowing ourselves, self-respect. First, we should know ourselves, not judge ourselves. There is no judgment here. It's only about introspecting. It's only about trying to know ourselves. When we know ourselves, we know whether we can respect ourselves or not. If there are any points due to which we cannot respect ourselves, we change. We remove those attributes. That is how you evolve. In order to establish a sense of self-respect, you have to first know the self. When you know the self, you know what are all the attributes you should get rid of in yourself. When you get rid of those attributes in yourself, you will respect yourself. That is self-respect. Again, here too, no comparison. Never compare yourself with anybody. No point. You can take a reference of others' lives, good or bad or whatever. Taking a reference is not a taboo. That is nothing wrong with. Comparison is bad because each one of us carry our own cross. Each one of us have our own sanchita karma based on which our realities of this life are. So let us not compare. First of all, drop comparison. What is important is knowing thyself. And what are the personality traits of a person who is self-confident? You can make out that person is a good listener. That person looks in the eye and talks. That person's mannerisms are unquestionable. That person's conduct is unquestionable. Dignity, honor, personification of these things. They are not impulsive. They don't give in to their temptations. They are very calm, very respectful, very balanced. Those are the people whom you can very clearly understand they have self-respect because they respect you first. They understand that the respect is a two-way traffic, it cannot be one-sided. The moment we feel that only I should be respected without we respecting the other person, you're egoist. You've gone to the other side. The subtle difference between self-respect and ego. Even if the other person is a beggar, he deserves self-respect. He has respect. You need to respect him. Even if the person is whatever he or she is, we are not here to judge. We respect. The one who knows to respect others can respect himself, not otherwise. The person's attributes are very simple, very respectful people. That is self-respect. Identifying oneself is very, very, very essential. Then we decide, are we respectable in our own eyes? Then we develop a sense of self-respect. When that comes from within, your persona changes by default. Your conduct, behavior, your demeanor, the way you carry yourself, everything changes. And the energies are so strong in a person with self-respect that nobody can disrespect you. Starts from within. Nobody can disrespect you, trust me. Try this. Don't be gullible. Don't be submissive. Learn to say no. In order to do all these things, know yourself. Once you know yourself, we know our flaws, we get rid of our flaws, we get rid of our shortcomings, and then despite, okay, what we have had is different, fine, it is gone and buried. Despite that, when you are a changed person, because you can't hide anything from yourself. Nothing can be hidden from yourself and your guru. Knows it all. You know it all, he knows it all. So when we know ourselves, when we thoughtfully, in a contemplative way, in a very logical way, remove the attributes which compromises our self-respect, and then we start respecting ourselves, trust me, world will respect us. If we don't respect yourself, don't expect anybody to respect you. No matter who it is, your spouse, your children, your parents, your siblings, your friends, your colleagues, your peers, anybody, they will treat you the way you allow them to treat you. And that is because of lack of self-respect. Self-respect is a must, ego is an evil. The difference is very thin. Be cautious. What is a parameter which always keeps you under check? Always. Keeps a tab on you, taps you. You just have to bring in when there is some praise or when there is an achievement or when you are getting accolades, all that you say that, okay, humbleness. Not pretentious humbleness. Genuine humbleness. Yes, this has happened. Thank you. Congratulate. Receive. Spread. Share your success. Give others credit. Say that, yes, I've done it. Yeah, many can do. If I can, others can. Everybody can. These are all the things which you go on saying, and slowly and softly, you will come to a stage where you will not flip into ego from self-respect. It's a very thin line between ego and self-respect. Be very cautious. Get rid of ego. Help people who have ego because they are victims. They're going to destroy themselves. Biggest of the industrialists, biggest of the political leaders, biggest of the kings and emperors and, richest men, they've all been destroyed because of ego. When we have humbleness and humility, you are indestructible. With that comes your self-respect, right? Now, in order to conclude, have I covered both the topics? Spiritual ego, I still have to speak about, correct? Now, coming to the yogic, influence, interpretation, and bearings on self-respect and ego. We always go to either chakras or nadis. Our life revolves around 7 chakras. हमारा चक्कर चक्रों के साथ ही है, नाड़ियों के साथ ही है, और कहीं पर नहीं. Everything depends on इड़ा पिंगला सुषुम्ना चित्रिणी नाड़ी मूलाधार चक्र स्वादिष्ठान मणिपूरक भवसागर अनहत विशुद्ध हंस आज्ञा एकादश रुद्र विराटा ब्रह्मरंध्र सहस्रार done. Our map is very clear, right? The avadhutas that we are. Our map is very clear. Ego, contrary to the popular belief that must be Pingala Nadi. Actually, it is Ida. Surprising. Because what happens? Comparison. Where does that come from? The complexes. Inferiority complex. Superiority complex comes out of inferiority complex because the foundation for any complex, inferiority or superiority, is comparison. What is comparison? Lack of self-respect, lack of lack of knowing thyself. That is when, okay, this is what I have to compare myself. Because we are at the negative end. So what happens with this being the base, your Ida Nadi being the base, your attributes of Ida Nadi being the base, you straight hop to Pingala. Sushumna to hai nahi. So from Ida to Pingala, when that egoistic person is alone, contemplation, what is contemplation that the egoistic person is doing? Comparison. What's happening? How do I get over? How do I beat the other person? Not themselves, beat the other person. I am losing my sheen. I am losing my prominence. I have to do this. Sway. Ida pingala. But it begins with Ida. Surprisingly. So when it comes, the comparison is the inferiority complex. You compare only because you feel that, okay, there is a need, somebody is better than me, or is there anybody better than me? So the comparison is the basis on which the sway between Ida Pingala. When this sway happens, it is catastrophic. It's a catastrophe. Spiritually, intellectually, morally, individually, personally, in every manner, the person is destroyed. So susceptible, as I mentioned, so gullible, so easy to manipulate. If you find someone who is egoistic, take it easy. There is nothing to handle. It's just your actions and reactions and few words. You're done. But that's not what we are here for. We are not here to manipulate anybody. Come out of empathy. Speak to them. Help them. Anyway, that is a different subject. So Ida Pingala, Sushumna is forgotten. The sway between Ida Pingala, it originates in Ida, influences Pingala. It pushes Pingala. It influences Ida. Now these two sways, what happens? Sapta chakras are caught. Nadis are imbalanced. The moment the nadis are imbalanced, your balanced chakras will start swaying towards left or right. If the attribute of that day is very strongly towards Ida Nadi, tilted towards Ida. If it is toward Pingala Nadi, tilted towards Pingala. There is no balance of the chakras. If the chakras are not balanced, your mental, psychological, as well as physical, emotional self is under strain. Strained. See how ego can destroy us. We are getting into the yogic influence of ego and also self-respect. So when you know that, when we get caught in ego, spin of ego, we are destroyed. And in the bargain, we destroy our loved ones. We hurt others. We have no right to do that. You hurt, insult, humiliate. All this is emanating from ego. Who's the ultimate sufferer? We. If we have ego, we are the sufferers. Eventually, we suffer. 1 is to 10-fold. How much we hurt, we will go through about 10 folds of same hurt. That is for sure. Don't worry. Don't doubt. I don't know in the history one egoistic person who has been hailed or been successful till the end. Whether it was Adolf Hitler, Mussolini, or Napoleon Bonaparte, or Alexander the Great, or anybody. People who have had high level of ego have been destroyed. Kingdoms, kings, emperors, leaders, political leaders, industrialists, entrepreneurs, rich men, gone. So that is how. So when you have self-respect, what happens? You are perfectly in Sushumna Nadi. Your demeanor changes. You're a good listener. You have an open mind. You are receptive. You look, you don't judge, but you analyze. You internalize what is required. You disagree and let go of what is not required. You have compassion. You have empathy. You look up to other person. You identify yourself with another person. You will identify the other person in yourself. There is no other person. Then you have the respect. You have respect for every living being by virtue of which you have the self-respect yourself. That is how you respect yourself. Proper characteristics of Sushumna. Proper characteristics of Lord Shri Ram. Maryada Purushottam. The God, the divine, an avatar, never egoistic. Humbleness, humility, sincerity, softness, counseling, always a sthita prajna. When we respect ourselves, we attain a state of sthita prajna. You are calm. You are not influenced by the emotions. You are a good listener. You are in a contemplative state. You are respectful. These attributes bring in the dignity in you, the Gambhirya, which is called as the Daiva Gambhirya, divine dignity. So that is the perfect persona of ourselves. That is being self-respect. That is being a person with self-respect. Right? These are the differences between self-respect and ego. We should get rid of ego and we should cultivate the path of self-respect. And the first step towards it, please understand, humbleness, humility, self-reflection, flaws which we identify. Nobody is identifying. We, flaws that we have, let's get rid of. No guilt. Okay, it's okay. It was there, it's gone. So when we get rid of those flaws, when we attain a sense of self-respect, trust me, nobody can disrespect you. Experiment this. जो भी flaws है, let's destroy that. You certainly will grow out of ego. Now, spiritual ego. Amongst all the egos, the worst of all is spiritual ego. Today's world, or from the yesteryears, from the Vedic days, we have been hearing about people who are, so to say, or so called spiritually evolved people getting into the clutches of ego and eventually destroying themselves. Maharshi Durvasa, we have heard about. So, likewise, if you keep going to the history, even in Puranas, have a lot of stories and narratives about ego. Finest of example in Ramayana, Ravana. There is a popular statement. Somebody compliments Lord Rama that, good, you killed Ravana. Rama says, no, I did not kill Ravana. His ego killed him. That's it. What happens to Ravana? Ego. But what ego? Not about the wealth and money. No. Two characteristics in Ramayana, we can see the highest level of ego. Two characteristics. One is Vali, the other one is Ravana. Vali was much more egoistic than Ravana because Vali had a boon that if anybody fights against him, their strength, half of their strength used to come to Vali. And Vali was the only one who had defeated even Ravana in a war. He was that powerful. He was also destroyed because of ego, his own ego. Ravana, who compiled Vedas, who gave Swara to Vedas, how the Vedas have to be recited, because Vedas were all Shruti Smriti, heard and memorized. The one who gave the ragas to Vedas was Ravana. You cannot find a better Shiva Bhakt than Ravana. Siddha, undoubtedly. All the siddhis that he wanted, he had. He could shake the Kailasa, abode of Lord Shiva. That man destroyed ego. Duryodhana destroyed because of ego. Finally, his ego was so high that finally, when Lord Krishna asks for 5 villages for Pandavas in Indraprastha, he says, I will not give them the tip of 5 needles. Not even that amount of space I'll give. What they can do, let me see. Ego. Dushyasana destroyed ego. Shishupala destroyed because of ego. There is no one who has survived with ego. Destroyed. The history tells us, Itihasa tells us, spiritual Itihasa says, and our known Itihasa also tells. We don't have to think, we know it. All of us know what is right and wrong. All of us know. It's not that we are that innocent. We know that ego is bad. But now coming to these modern day gurus. So these modern day gurus who are Ravanas, when Ravana kidnapped Sita Maya, saffron clad, he comes as a saint, he comes as a monk, and he does what he does. Kidnaps Ma Sita, Mother Sita. All our modern day egoistic gurus are the same. No difference. Just because they are saffron clad, don't think that they are sannyasis. They are kapata sannyasis. They are Ravanas in the guise of gurus. So be very careful. See in our recent past, see in our recent history, the spiritual ego has destroyed true masters also. Everybody starts off well. Everybody begins extremely well. Not everybody, say most of them. We can quote names. See the amount of mess which is happening because they don't even care about the God that they worship and the God that they ask the followers to worship. That amount of ego, how less are they from Ravana? Are they any less? In the recent past, we have seen legendary godmen have gone in. Sant Asaram Bapu. Many. I mean, I can. One fellow has built a country of his own. So, lot of people, lot of these self-appointed gurus and masters, predators of sensual pleasures, wealth. The day any order asks you for money for spirituality, get out. Just get out. No second thought. You go to a temple and put the money in hundi, no problem. You give dakshina, no problem. But if somebody is going to tell you that I'll give you mukti, 5 lakhs, I'll open each chakra, 7 chakras, 7 lakhs, done. Diwali discount, 2 lakhs. So I'll give you at 5 lakhs. Get out. The moment money is involved, don't even think once, twice. Just get out. Very spontaneously, immediately out. इतनी तो बुद्धि है हमें. It is grossly wrong. धर्म के नाम में जो धंधा करते हैं उनसे जितना दूर हो सके उतना दूर हो. उसमें दो राय नहीं है. However capable and competent spiritually that person is, doesn't matter. Even Ravana was. Ravana was one of the greatest of the Siddhas and Siddha Purushas. What happened? Likewise, these guys, just because they have Siddhis, which is Raddhis, just because they speak well, just because they recite all the Vedas, mantras, Vedocharas, Upanishads, Aranyakas, Brahmanikas, Samhitas, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavata, वो लंबा लंबा छोड़ते रहते हैं, पेलते रहते हैं. छोड़ो. जब ये व्यक्ति ने धंधा बनाया धर्म को, निकलो वहां से. The moment the person has made business out of spirituality, get out. Don't even think once. Dakshina and package deals are different. Dakshina is different. So don't get confused. Dakshina is not necessarily money all the time. And Dakshina is received only upon the completion of a particular sadhana of the disciple, which is put to test by the Guru. Upon being satisfied that disciple has progressed or completed that stage, Guru decides what dakshina he has to take, and not necessarily that all the time dakshina means money. No. Right? Business, proximity, a guru who is judging, Guru who is comparing, Guru is favoring one person, two person, one is close, two is close, this person is done. Get out. No point. There's no point. If there is a master worthy of his name and weight and his salt, he will never discriminate. He will never ask for money. He'll never ask for pleasure. He'll never ask for comforts. He'll only provide these to you. That is the characteristic of a true guru or a master. Sri Sainatha, our guru, has all these virtues and characteristics. So, and we know it. It's not that we don't know, we know it. We know what is right and wrong. You can't buy God with money. We know that. So Satya or Artha, Satyartha, हमें पता है. कोई हमें आके समझाने की जरूरत नहीं है. वो आवश्यकता नहीं है. हम जानते हैं. We know it. Nobody has to tell us. So that's how we have to be cautious. Spiritually, worst kind of all the egos. Right? So everywhere, ego, just because it is spiritual arena, doesn't mean that there is no play of ego. In fact, that is highest in that arena. So we should be careful about. फूक फूक के कदम रखना चाहिए. ठीक है. So this is all about difference between ego and self-respect. And we know the masters we avadhutas, we have no ego. We don't identify ourselves as something other than the other person because there is no other person. We avadhutas respect everything. We avadhutas are beyond self-respect also. We are at shunya. We are just a stabda. We are sthira. We are in samadhi. We are in kaivalya. We are in turya. We are in purna. And we are in shunya. These ego, self-respect, and these things are too trivial, too shallow a subject for us. I'm not again saying it with ego. Right? Don't get me wrong. I'm just kidding. Thank you very much. Sairam, Sairam.